Is age helping you, or is age hindering you? Do you find that age is holding you back? Do you have an issue with thinking it's too late to do something new? Do you wish you did something sooner? Or do you say to yourself, I really can't do anything new, not for me, it's too late, I'm too old? Well, I'd like to share with you a confession. I've actually had these feelings, I've had these thoughts, and I've had these what I call symptoms of an ageism syndrome. And this could be very debilitating if you believe that you are too old and that these things can happen to you and you can't move forward. So I'd like to take you back to a few years ago when I was working with Mitchell. Mitchell at that time was 58 years old. He was called into the CEO's office. Now, let me just take you back. Mitchell was working 20 years in a publishing company, and he was the head of the copywriting unit. And he was pretty successful. They liked him a lot. So he was called one day into the CEO's office, and the CEO said to him, Mitchell, I have something to say to you. Sit down, please. That ever happened to you? Do you know anyone else that might have happened to, where they're called suddenly into the CEO's office and they don't know why? Mitchell sat down, and the CEO said to him, Mitchell, we think you're a great worker, but I have something to say to you, and I'm very sorry. Your office is being moved abroad, and your position is being eliminated. And we're going to give you a week's notice because you're a real skilled major player here, and we want you to just get prepared. But we have some good news for you, Mitchell. You're being assigned outplacement with someone named Renee Rosenberg. Mitchell came to see me the next day, and the reason he came, I think, is that he needed to cry. He sat in my office, and all he did was cry. But I was prepared for that because I'm a mental health licensed counselor. So I had a lot of tissues in my office. And I was able to give him a lot of tissues. And he just sat there. And then he started in with his mantra. I'm too old. Who's going to hire me? What's going to happen to me? I have a son in college. I have a daughter going into college. What's going to happen to me? Who will ever hire me? I'm too old to start anew. All those symptoms that I mentioned that I've had. But how did I deal with those symptoms? I dealt with it with developing a 3-word message that I gave to myself, that I then gave to him. My 3-word message is, get over it. Get over it and take some action. Don't just feel sorry for yourself. This whole ageism syndrome is rampant in our culture. Don't give into it. Look what you can do. Look at your skills. Look at your abilities. Look at how you can help people. I told Mitchell, and I had previously told myself that also. Because I also, on many occasions, have fallen into this ageism syndrome. These symptoms come up without us even knowing they're there. They're almost built into us from the messages we get from our culture. So I'd like to say to you that if you feel, and this can happen at any age, it could happen when you're in your 30s or your 40s, because I have clients in their 20s who say to me, I'm going to be 30 and I'm getting old. Any of you? I see some heads shaking, actually. Yeah. So it's not something that happens to people who are my age, let's say. It could happen at any age. So please, when you think about it, when you think you're too old, think about what do you have to offer. Think of the benefits. Think of your experience. Think of who you are and why your age is a value, not a hindrance to yourself, to your friends, to your family, most of all to your business, to your corporation, to the people that you work with. Remember, ageism, we need to fight. We need to go and say this is not an ism that we accept. And I'd love you to all say after me, I'm not old. I'm not old. I am older. Because aren't we all older each day?
Yes. Beautiful. And you're very natural up here. What I love about what you do up here, Renee, is that this is the same person up here that you are at lunch or that she is anywhere else. She didn't go become somebody else. She didn't go do a pirouette or a leap, you know. She wasn't, and then she was natural. Speeches, presentations are not performances, they're conversations. And therefore, we talk the way we talk in conversation. We use the phrases and the language we use in conversation. And it makes it so hard. There's some delivery tips on your cards that you can take back home. It makes it so hard for us because many of us, and I did it for years included, write presentations the way they're meant to be read. We write with whatever brain is looking at a piece of paper, when we were growing up in school, writing, immediately assessing the way it's going to be read. And then we wonder why we can't memorize it, why it's this wall of words, why it doesn't feel natural, because we didn't write it the way we talk. We wrote it the way we think it's supposed to be read. Therefore, a lot of my presentations now are not even scripted out line by line because I write them and practice them in a conversational way as if I'm talking to somebody in a living room chair. And so I like the fact that you are so natural up here. That's something that many people script out, and I appreciate that. This is great. Great stuff, great topic. How to best declutter what I want to say. You have a lot of opportunity for humor in there. Not sure where your comfort zone is, but growing older is a minefield for jokes. And in any industry, jokes are currency. Humor is currency. You have a lot of, if you're not comfortable writing humor, you know you're getting older when, ... I mean, you can even ask your audience, how do you know you're getting older? What's one of the biggest pet peeves about getting older? You could do that, get people engaged, get people piping in, let them make the jokes, and you've set up the pain of the audience in a more powerful way right away. I felt like you did it, but you could do it even more powerfully. I would love that moment in the beginning of, hey, getting old sucks. I mean, maybe you can't use that word, but that sense of, I'm here to talk about ageism. I know, all our favorite subjects. Let's just face it, we all get it. Getting old is no fun. And paint the picture of what it's like to be getting older. Not just because you have an opportunity for humor, but because you need to tap into the pain of your buyer and your audience right away. Not so that they say, I'm going to help you defeat ageism. You haven't convinced me I have a problem yet. Do you see? So I want to be more convinced, even though I know I have it, I want to step into that space a little bit more, and and I can tell you can be funny. I can tell you could put that stuff in there and have everybody, and yeah, we get it. It is not fun. And what's even worse, you could even get into in this day and age, the drastic measure, what this ageism has done to our society, and weave it into yesterday I met a 30-year-old woman whose boobs still face forward. Now, you wouldn't say that, but I'm trying to give you an example. Who said she was old? Honey, you don't know old. Talk to me. When, boom, boom, boom. And you are going to have your audience in love with you in the first 5 to 10 minutes, and because you're here to help them deal with aging, you have now gotten everybody to nod that there is a problem, they can relate, and they want to know how to fix it. Then I recommend, these are suggestions. I wish I could give you a ton of options. I can't. I got to go in one place. I recommend going to You Next. And I want you to find a specific example in your life, maybe the most dramatic, powerful example of how when you don't do what you say, okay, whatever your lessons are, the great way to find stories is to go look. If your lessons are in saving money, give me stories of what happens when people don't and raise the stakes. So go to an example in your life, pick one of your points about what we should do when you didn't do that, and what a powerful payoff it had. When we raise the stakes, the story becomes more powerful. Not just any day, it was this day. And I would love for you to craft a tiny little story of a time when you succumbed to ageism and the powerful, devastating impact it had on your life. Now, it would be even better if then something catalyst, or the one day you decide enough is enough, even if it's just that, And I decided, no, do not go gently into this dark, no, whatever. What turns it around for you? Again, make this personal. And no, I don't have to be this way. Some kind of catalyst. So create this separate story that's yours about a time when you learned your life's journey to this truth. Do you see? But I want a specific example. Then I want to go to Michael. Now, my brain's already saying, well, Michael could have come first. That would be kind of powerful if you did Michael in front of you. But you see, you got options. I want you to craft Michael's story separately. Because we never found out what happened to Michael. Now, maybe it's a bad story. It's okay. It's okay. And you only had 5 minutes. But I was like, you dropped the dog. We need to find out what happened. You were carrying a dog, now you dropped him. Don't ever drop the dog. But we want to know what happened to Michael. Now, if he's a story of a happy ending, do that. Or if it's a story of this was sad because Michael spent the rest of his life, if he's a bad case example, those can be great too. So my creative brain is still wondering, you've got options. You could have started with Michael and then go to you and then go back to Michael. You see, you could play around with how you deliver it. But I think that it will be easier on the brains of your listener if you put each of those stories separately through their own formula, because it will force you to go, what's the character, what's the lesson, and then you merge the two. Let me see if I had any other. Okay, Mitchell was 58, head of copywriting. You told me the character, you didn't show me the character. If I can't see him, I can't connect. A tiny detail. There's no right or wrong. Don't use words that are overused and have no meaning to us anymore. Tall, for instance. Like I have one of my cousins that I described, he was tall, his feet were so big when he turned to the side, he looked like a capital L. And I remember how his Adam's apple bobbed up and down like the lure on a fishing line. Show me Mitchell. I can't see him, and I need to see him. He's a main character. And you can show us personalities. His whole perspective on life was that everybody was out to get him. My husband's whole philosophy on life is take no prisoners. You could name these cute little different ways of describing their viewpoints on life, their personalities, their quirks, the way they see the world. Don't spend 15 minutes doing it. Just drop in so I can see. These are stories. We're painting a picture. And so we want them to see the movie. I would like to see the CEO. Now, you have opportunity for that CEO. Not that he would have a cigar out of his mouth, but what did he look like? He's got he ate antacids for lunch. And he was like, dude, I got bad news. Good news, bad news. We got to lay off your job. Sorry, way it had to be. You got a week. It would be more dramatic if we have a little dialogue through there and play around with that, because that's a good character. Now, you were brought into the story, and I was confused because Go See Renee confused me. And I was like, oh, you're the counselor. I wish I'd known that earlier. So I would like for you to set up earlier in this story, in that story of Michael, that you were working at a counselor. So in the context of the opening of the story, Michael's this, oh, and by the way, I was working at a, whatever you call yourself, a such and such at the time. And maybe even since I don't know how much you're a character in this story, because Michael's the main thing. And you need to flesh out the journey Michael takes. So we can see either that he had a negative effect because he never conquered ageism, or he had a positive effect. And once you put all those together, it's already powerful, but it will be even stronger after that. Good job. Good job.